How are you experiencing the world around you? Do you find yourself displeased or unsatisfied with the way things or situations are going for you? Are you hopeful and excited? However you feel on your outer world is a direct reflection of what's going on in your inner world.
On today's show, we will be talking about how you can change your life and the world around you for the better by transforming your inner world first. Stay tuned.
Welcome everybody to the Manifestation Mindset Show, where you will learn tips on the mindset for manifesting, overcoming emotional challenges, and breaking through limitations. We are your host. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez, and we go live every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And you can find us on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're new, make sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then you can find all our previous episodes. Also, if you would like to know when we're live each week, or when we have a new video posted, click on the bell icon and you will get the notifications of when we go live. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode and you feel someone can benefit from it, feel free to share it.
Yeah, if you're watching live with us here today, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We always like to hear from our audience members. Even if you're watching on the replay, let us know where you're watching from. It's always good to see who's watching. And if you have any questions or comments throughout today's episode, please put those here into the comments and we will interact with you. And also, if you're on the replay, we will get back to your comments after the show. So before we get into today's topic, we always like to start off our shows with a bit of inspiration, and we do our inspirational moments with Veronica.
So inspirational moments is when I like to read something inspirational, whether it's a quote, a little paragraph from a book, or one of my writings. And today I have a writing for you guys. And it says, "Thank you for being here. There are many fears people have, and most of the fears are of the unknown. Fears of things or events that haven't taken place. When you have faith and trust in Source, you walk in confidence knowing that the outcome will be okay. Things happen for a reason, and when you can find the good in all situations, there is no fear. You trust that everything is happening for the highest good. Sometimes situations don't feel good in the moment, but when you can focus on the positive love energy, you will start to see the good side of things. When you change your perspective, everything looks different. It's time to let go of fear and live your life with more happiness." That is my writing for today. So if you like it, give us a thumbs up or put in the comments what you thought about that.
And I think it's a great message for all of us, because we all deal with fear in some way. In fact, we were just having this conversation last night on Veronica asked me the question, "What do you fear?" And even things in our life, in our business, in our work, and all kinds of things. There's always something that's a little uncertain, that's scary, because when you're moving into a new direction, something that's unknown, it can be a little nerve-wracking and scary at times, because it can bring up a lot of your stuff because it's a new vibration.
Yeah. Yeah, but when I think when you see it in a way, like if you see the unknown as a form of almost like excitement for not knowing how things are going to work out. It's like a kid in Christmas. Like they don't know what's inside the box, but they're excited for it. Like if we could see life in that way, I think it changes our whole perspective and how we view things.
Rather than being scared of the box.
Exactly.
Oh, don't open it. Our daughter used to be like that sometimes. Like, we'd just give her a present, she'd be like all scared, like, what are you scared about? She thought something bad was going to happen. Like, no, it's a present.
I think it was more if we had something in our hand, like here, like open your hand, and then she's like, "What is it?"
Like everyone have like a black widow in my hand or something. So that's our inspirational moment today. Thank you guys for watching. Want to say hello to those of you who are watching. We have Abigail Engel that's joining with us. She says, "Hello, welcome, Abigail." She says, "I am definitely hopeful and excited." Fantastic. Stephen Smith is watching with us.
Hey,
His greetings from Sarasota, Florida. Hey, Stephen, great to see you.
Yeah.
Antonio Chavez says he liked it.
Hey, Antonio.
Abigail says, "Fear is not in the past too. Most fears are not our own fears, but fears we were taught from other people's experiences."
Exactly.
It was huge for me to see this. Yeah, it's like, where did we learn to fear something? And a lot of times it's other people's fears, and then when you're a little kid, it's like, "Don't touch that, watch out, be careful." No. And it's like it can scare the kids, and then they learn through conditioning that these things are scary.
Yeah, my mom still, she's always like just concerned about things. And every time she's always, oh, be careful, be careful. Like, okay.
I'm like, okay, we'll be careful. If we're taking out the trash, we'll be careful. And Abigail also says, fear of the unknown is way bigger than we imagine it is.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And so today, what we're going to be talking about is changing when we want to make changes in our life. We want to see situations be different. We're talking about fear and looking at things in a different way. If we want things to be different on our outer world, the first things we always need to do, we need to transform what's going on in our inner world.
Yeah, when Aaron and I were talking about the subject here today, we at first we were going to say, are you an inner or an outie?
Are you an innie or are you an outie?
We are not talking about belly buttons here.
But really, when you think about it, everybody's an innie. Because
We all have an inner world.
we all have an inner world, and everything that shows up in our outer world is just a reflection of that inner world. And if these kind of topics are new to you, it's like, what do we consider our inner world?
Yeah, so inner world is really like the dialogue that goes on in your mind. Like when you say, even when you meet someone or you're going somewhere, what's that dialogue like? And what are you already anticipating or putting out to the universe, for wherever you're going or things that you're doing? And what you see is really a reflection. So, and it's how you see it too, because sometimes there could be something that appears bad to someone, but for someone else, it's like, oh, this is an opportunity. So it's all how you view it.
Yeah, it's your belief system. It's the way you see things around you. When you look at a situation, do you find, we mentioned, do you feel excited or hopeful? I mean, Abigail says she feels excited and hopeful, but
That's
there
great.
are some people that might say, oh, everything that's going on in the world today, this is really bad. This is scary. We don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of chaos that happens, but it all depends on each person's viewpoint. And so we all have our own world and perception of the world around us. And it's like there's so much information coming at us at one time, we can't handle all of it. And so our mind is constantly distorting and deleting information based on what's relevant and important to us. And so everybody views the world differently, even though they could be looking at the exact same thing.
Also, because of the news and the media, they seem to, kind of twist things around sometimes, or most of the time. And it seems like they focus more on the negative stuff that's going on around the world. So if people are constantly watching the news, like they're just being bombarded with all this negativity. So if they just stop watching the news, or maybe just be informed and get the information you need, but don't sit there and dwell on it, because then it's gonna bring you down. So it's really how you're viewing it. But if they're maybe stretching the story a bit and making it worse than it actually is, then it's like we're getting misinformation, and we're creating our reality by that information. So it's for us, it's been good not even watching the news, because it's like, oh, have you heard this? Oh, no. But we get informed by other people. So,
And don't get me wrong, sometimes we'll read certain articles. We don't watch the news, but we'll read
yeah.
articles just to stay updated. And it's interesting because there's times when, if we pay attention to ourselves and our own body, there's times that I felt like watching some of the things that are happening, I can see myself kind of getting like bothered about, like, laws that are being passed, things that are happening, and I have to stop myself and say that there's something good. There's a purpose for all of this,
Yeah.
and meaning that something better is going to happen. And we were talking with we were at our service yesterday, and we were talking with one of the monks there, and they were even saying that sometimes a little bit of chaos has to happen before the good. It's like that. It's going to happen, even when we don't like it when it does. Is we never always see the good that's going to come out. What's good that's going to be going on beyond the storm. And when we can go and push through the storm of things, sometimes difficulties are important. They help us to grow in our life.
Yeah, because it's like when there's that chaos or the uncomfortable feelings that has to happen in order for a change to occur. So if things are, they're going just the same all the time, but people want to change, there has to be some sort of disturbance. It can't remain the same and change. So, and also for us, we have to change on the inside how we're viewing this world around us. But if we're constantly thinking that we live in a bad world, we're only going to see bad. So
Yeah.
it's like we have to know that we do live in a great world, and there is great people out there, because not everybody is bad.
And there's so much opportunity. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of different scenarios that we can talk about here, but it really is pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel. That is going to be the litmus test. Is how are you experiencing the world? Are you feeling good? Do you feel happy, joyful, or do you feel upset? Do you feel sad? Do you feel scared? Most of the time, because when you're in those types of emotions, with fear, anger, worry, it really disturbs your whole energy system,
It does.
and it can create health problems. It can create issues in relationships. It can create issues in your business, because again, what shows up in your outer world, your results and your work and your career and your relationship, is again a reflection of what's going on within you. And if you find yourself constantly disturbed by the things that are going on around you, we just pay attention to that, and be aware. Just say, you know what, wow, there's things that are these things are bothering me.
Hmm.
And when we can ask the questions, why does this bother me? Well, and what is it making me feel like? Is it making me feel, wow, I feel upset, or I feel sad, or I feel scared? And when you can at least acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that. And then we can learn to process the emotion that's coming up. Then we can start to analyze and think, why does this bother me? Why am I feeling this way? What is what I'm seeing in front of me? What does that represent, and what's being triggered right now?
Yeah, and actually, what you know how people say live in the present moment.
Hmm.
Actually, what I was reading before was it's actually not the present; it's really the past, because it gets created first in the mind.
Hmm.
So, so the what we're living in now, which is what we call the present, is the manifestation of the thoughts. So in reality, it's kind of like the past, which
Hmm.
is weird, and it can go into a different direction, but it's a result of our thoughts and how we feel. So that's why it's very important, like Aaron was saying, to pay attention to that, to how we're feeling, how we're thinking, and um, if something you're observing or feeling doesn't feel good in the moment, so you're having a conversation and you don't feel good, it's either something needs to be worked within yourself, so that inner part of you needs to be healed, or the conversation is just a negative conversation, and you don't feel good about it. Like
Yeah.
last night, Aaron and I, when we were talking, I was just asking him questions, but he was getting kind of frustrated about it. And it went back to his
Hmm.
dad, when he used to play golf or something,
No,
or
I played sports in high school.
sports.
So I played football. I did wrestling,
Hmm.
and because one of the questions is, well, she asked, "What do you fear?" But she was meditating, and something came through to her to ask me that question. And so what I realized too is, and when we were designing what we wanted to do in our life, in our work and our business, not just run the old, okay, you go get a job, you make your living, pay for your mortgage, pay for your groceries, and then and just keep repeating, rinse and repeat. So we designed our work like we wanted to be able to be together. We work from home. Our daughter's in homeschool. For me, what's important is family, and I wanted to be around my family, because when I was growing up, my family was always working. And so my dad would work early morning. He'd be out of the house before I woke up, and he'd be home like by 6, 7 o'clock at night. My mom worked late night, so she would probably go to work at 3 by the time I was getting off school, and we didn't get home till like after midnight.
So you never really saw your parents.
Yeah, except for like on the weekends.
Hmm.
And when it came to like sports, is I always wanted my parents to be there to kind of see the things and all the effort that I put in the work, to kind of come watch me play, come watch me wrestle, whatever that was. And they never got the opportunity. It wasn't because they didn't want to be there; it's because they were always working. And I remember seeing like all the parents and they're everybody supporting my other teammates. And I always thought, maybe at the time, maybe it was unconscious. I didn't think about it till last night.
Yeah.
That, wow, I would have really enjoyed that. And I know my dad, he showed up to like maybe two events of mine out of the 4 years, but it's because they were working. And so for me, is I didn't want to run into that same pattern where I wasn't there for our daughter or our future kids, and I wanted to be there with our family. So that was me. So that stuff comes up, and that creates a pattern and belief systems, and
Hmm.
then it creates actions. And so when I'm able to pay attention to that and pay attention to things for yourself, why do you do the things that you do? Is because there's a certain value system, there's certain beliefs, there's certain habits that we have. And if we want to make a slight difference, we can just change one little thing. First thing, we can change a thought or belief system, and then we can change an attitude and then an action step.
So long story short, or long story long, I don't know.
A short story long.
Short story long. It was something related to business, and because Aaron and I are going to be putting out events and retreats and things like that. And one of the fears in that was people not showing up. And that went back to that story that Aaron just said about his parents not showing up for his games. And you felt that. You
Yeah,
felt
you
that
can feel it.
energy.
You can feel
Yeah.
like the sadness, the disappointment, and it all is. It's just a thought process,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. And it's not even it hasn't even happened, but it's a thought process. But that's the energy that we can put out.
Yeah. So once you clear that energy, and then it no longer triggers you as much, or if there's more there, then we work on it. But it's getting rid of that energy.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through the comments here that people have been putting in here. Abigail says, "Healthy fear is the goal." Yeah, because fear and emotions, they're normal. Yeah, we're supposed to have those. It's not like you will never be, once you work on your fear, you will never be scared again. There's something that's going to scare you, but it's how do you work through that? How do you push through it? So that's absolutely right. She
Yeah.
also says, "I have lived under many phobias that crippled me. I have worked hard to overcome them." And that's great. And that's what personal work is. And think about this is by working through at least one or two or three of those phobias, how much has your life changed,
Yeah.
even if the world stayed the same?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you could just change one thought process. The world didn't change, and in an instant, your world changes. You know, you think about things differently, but nothing really changed. The weather's still the same. You can change it in an instant, and the world is still the world.
Yeah, but when you change, it seems like the people around you change as well, and maybe it's how they're responding to you, or it could be different scenarios, but at least you were aware you had those phobias, and you decided you wanted to change, and it was probably uncomfortable in that moment to be able to work through it. It was probably didn't feel comfortable, but once you push through it, then it's like, wow, like I should have done this a while back, and it feels good now.
Yeah. And then Abigail also says, "I felt my fears creeping back in at the beginning of the pandemic. But once I saw it as a test for how far I have come in my healing, it helped me have a different perspective."
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the how you'll know that's a test, right? You've worked through things, and you'll find that the exact same situation will start to show up again in your life. And then what you'll notice is, how do you react to that now? And do you go back into the old patterns of fear or sadness, whatever emotion that might be, in old habits? Or do you find, wow, that used to really bother me, but it happened now, and it's like, I don't feel any issue with that.
Yeah.
And I'm able to pass through that, even though it's exactly the same. Because the way I like to look at it, and again, it's a perception, and it helps me, is when we have challenges that show up in our life, it's a test. And if you see them happening over and over again, it's because you haven't learned the lesson. And at least the lesson for me is how do you respond to that situation? And when I feel better about it, or it doesn't bother me, I know I've made progress, and I can move on to the next challenge, because there's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, how long do you get caught up into it, or how quickly can you move past it? So that's going to be the test. And that's when your inner world starts to change. Because when you start to feel better on the inside, everything starts to look better on the outside.
Yeah, and it's your point of focus as well, because if you're focusing on all the negative, that you're going to see more of it. But when you start to feel good on the inside, it's like everything else just seems to look better for you on the outside. But with the pandemic, it's like, I think it was a big shock for a lot of people, because it was a worldwide thing, and it was a big change for a lot of people, and a lot of people have issues with change. So this really kind of shook everyone up, and it's like, oh, we gotta do something different, like, and things aren't going to go back to how they were before. So it's adapting to that new change, and it was a big change.
Yeah, and it's still changing. And how are you going to respond to that and realize that change is inevitable? You're always changing. Your body is always changing. There's this concept of anti-aging out in the world. You can't stop aging. So you're gonna get another day older. You're gonna get another year older. Like you don't stop that because it happens. And can you embrace the change? Can you be excited about the change? And change can be good.
Yeah.
If you're unhappy with the things that are going on in your world right now, change could be a really good thing. And so embrace that, but you have to embrace it on the inside first. And then you'll start to slowly see as your energy changes, meaning your vibration, your emotions, your thought processes, your belief systems. Then you'll start to do different things. You'll incorporate different habits. You'll take different action steps because your behavior is different. And by a universal law, you're bound to see different results in your life.
Yeah, and you mentioned anti-aging and getting older. I think for that is really how you feel on the inside about yourself, about things, and I think it's good for people to still do stuff that they did when they were kids if they enjoy it, because it seems like a lot of people stop doing certain things as they get older because, what are people going to think if I go to Chuck E. Cheese when I'm 30 years old? But I'm just joking about that. Well,
I love Chuck E. Cheese, but one of them went out of business because of the pandemic, which...
Yeah, but it's like doing things like that when you were a kid, playing video games when you're 45 or something, and if it still brings you joy, like why not? But I'm not saying like spend 8 to 10 hours playing video games, but at least once in a while,
I had to stop. Trust me.
Once in a while, do it, and just do stuff that remind you of like when you were a kid, and it brings back that youth, that like that childhood, that inner child within you. And don't take life so seriously. Like people sometimes, it's like they're not enjoying life because they're so serious. And it's like just relax and let stuff go. Like it doesn't have to be taken so serious. Have fun.
And that was a big lesson for me too. So again, we're talking from experience as well. And even like doing these shows. And when we first started, it's like it had to be like pristine. It had to be very professional, like polished. I had to dress all nice and
he's in his pajamas right now. I'm in
my shirt, pajama pants, and it's just the way it is. And we're talking about having fun and being silly. Right after the show, we're gonna go to Knott's Berry Farm with our daughter, and just to kind of just enjoy and have fun. And that's one thing that we realize that has to be implemented in our life more is have more fun.
Yeah.
And that was a big value system, even in a career, was what's really important to me. And the first thing I ever put was having fun. Like, it has to be fun for me to do. Like, doing this for you guys, this is fun. Whether we're getting paid for it or not, this is fun.
So if you'd like to make a donation.
Going to our audience here, and Antonio Chubb, he's had a question for a while, and I want to answer it. He says, like, where did you wrestle? I wrestled for Canyon Springs High School in Moreno Valley here in California. So that's where I wrestled. I wrestled for 2 years, my junior year and my senior year. And I did football for the first 2, and then I switched over.
And I wrestled here in San Diego.
Yeah. And she pinned me.
True story.
True story.
I think I scared him.
I was surprised. My inner world changed.
Yeah, my dad actually did teach me wrestling, so there was a few moves that that stuck with me, and I don't know.
Abigail says, the world did stay the same. I changed my perspective and connected with my higher self, and that's key. It's like when you
awesome.
go within, when you connect to who you truly are. And I find when I'm getting caught up in the world, I have to stop and I have to retreat and I have to go within myself and listen to my higher self. And that's where all the wisdom comes in. That's where I start to notice I relax, is when we start to tune into our higher self and that soul of the spirit.
And it's kind of also creating a balance between like everything, like a balance between work and play and spirituality, like just do what's comfortable for you and what works for you, because you might need a little more family time and spend a little less time working on some occasions, or other times you might need to work a little more and spend a few hours with family. So it's find what works for you.
Yeah. Abigail says also, make a new way forward. Going back is for healthy review and learning and not for living. And the past is for review. We did a show about a couple weeks ago on self-reflection and self-analysis, and one of the main keys for transformation is analyzing yourself.
Yeah.
Is taking a moment to say, well, how have I been doing? How am I being right now? How is my attitude? And what things could I change? What can I improve on in myself? And when we can analyze, what we're doing, we can be aware, and that's when we can start making some adjustments, and that's where the transformation comes in.
Yeah, and Antonio, he says, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
But Toys R Us went out of business, so we had to pick a new place. What's the new one?
Chuck E. Cheese?
Chuck E. Cheese? Well, one of them went out of business, but they're still going strong. I hope so. Boomers, Knott's Berry Farm, Disneyland. Disneyland got a little expensive, but
I think he's talking about toys, so Amazon?
Amazon's the new Toys R Us? I don't want to grow up. I'm an Amazon kid.
Sorry, you guys. We're just having fun. Well, I'm not sorry.
We're having a lot of fun today. But that's what life needs to be. It needs to be silly. I mean, we're live here today.
And no, we're not drinking any alcohol. It's just tea.
Maybe you're not.
Aaron spiked the tea this morning.
I spiked the tea.
No.
But see, we're having a lot of fun with you guys here today. And because this is where the energy lives up. This is where we tend to shine. I mean, we haven't had a good laugh on the show in a while. But when we can just sit there and laugh, and sometimes just laugh at the things that we've done. Mm-hmm. And I've learned a long time, just learn to laugh at yourself and don't take yourself so seriously. We make mistakes like, oops, that was bad. But how can I correct that for the next time? And when we learn to change the way we see things, and we look for the good in everything, or the opportunity in challenges. And one of my mantras I try to put in all the time is, when there's something going wrong, I have to stop and say, where's the opportunity in this? With the whole pandemic and all the rules and laws that are going on, I have to say, rather than saying like, oh, this sucks, I have to say, where's the opportunity in this? Because there's a great opportunity that's going to happen because of this. And this is necessary, because if this didn't happen, whatever opportunities that's supposed to come our way wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and if you make a mistake, it's like, oh, I learned something new. I learned what not to do, or I learned what I can do better next time. So it's always, everything's always learning and growing. So don't beat yourself up for it.
And Antonio, or Abigail says, actually, she says, our Chuck E. Cheese closed too.
Aww.
All right, we're going to Amazon.
Well, maybe we need to create like a new thing, like for adults and kids. Well, they kind of have one.
Which one?
Called
a toy store?
No, it's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese for grown-ups. What was that one?
Oh, you're talking about Dave & Buster's. Dave and Buster's?
Something like that.
With all the arcades and stuff like that.
But maybe,
they have it.
Maybe, I know there's other stores out there, but
we're talking about, we need a toy store, right?
We'll let you know next time.
I think Amazon's the new toy store. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed here. Oh, one more comment. Antonio says, our life can be like a rear view mirror in a car. It's good to see where we came from, but if we stay focused on what is in the past, we don't see what is ahead of us.
Yeah.
And then you crash.
Yeah.
Right? So pay attention to where you are, stay focused, and you'll get to your destination.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So we want to thank everybody for joining with us here today on the Manifestation Mindset Show. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez, and we go live every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So go ahead and click the bell icon for the live notifications. We also go live on YouTube. And if you feel that someone can benefit from the show, go ahead and share it. Give us a thumbs up, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye.